When my sister vanished for 3 days, leaving her kids with me, I thought it was another one of her emergencies. But when they started calling me Mom, I realized this wasn't a favor, it was a rescue mission. The door didn't open. I stood there with her youngest, Tyler, clutching my leg like a koala, while the other two sat on my couch watching cartoons with that glazed-over look kids get when they've stopped expecting anything better. It had been 36 hours. No text, no call. Just a vague message that read, "Still dealing with stuff. You're a lifesaver." I wasn't a lifesaver. I was a damn fool. The first few hours I played it cool. Made pancakes. Built a fort out of couch cushions. Tried to make it feel like a sleepover instead of abandonment. But by hour 15, I'd started checking hospitals and police logs. I even debated calling my mom, but that would have been like throwing gasoline on a gas leak. Then it happened. Around bedtime on the second night, I was tucking them in, yes, all three in my bed, because they didn't want to be alone, when Lily, the middle one, mumbled it. "Good night, Mommy." I froze. Just for a second. "I'm not your mom, baby," I said softly, brushing her hair back. "I know," she whispered, "but you smell like her." Before she got mean. She didn't say it like it was an accusation. She said it like it was a memory. A wish. I laid there with them, three small bodies curled up against me like I was their safe place, and I felt my chest crack open. They weren't scared of monsters or the dark. They were scared she wouldn't come back. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I wanted her to. I stared at the ceiling that night with a storm in my chest, and just one question rattling around like a loose screw in a dryer. What the hell kind of emergency lets you forget your own kids? I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Lily's voice again. Before she got mean. By morning, I'd gone from worried to furious. Not the screaming, hair-pulling kind. The cold, quiet kind, the kind that simmers under your skin and makes everything feel sharp. I brewed coffee and stared at my phone like it owed me an explanation. 8:12 a.m. Another text from my sister, Danielle. "Hey, still tied up? Probably one more night. You're the best." 2 hearts. 3 exclamation points. A heart emoji. Like this was a quick babysitting favor, not 3 traumatized kids eating microwave mac and cheese while their mother ghosted them. I called. No answer. Left a voicemail this time, trying to keep my voice calm but firm. "Danielle, I need to know what's going on. This isn't okay. The kids are scared." I hung up and walked back to the kitchen. Tyler was digging cereal out of the box with his bare hands. Lily was watching me like she thought I might vanish too. The oldest, Noah, wouldn't look up from his game console, but I could tell. He knew. He always knew. That's when I started noticing the little things. Tyler flinched when I raised my voice calling the dog in from the yard. Lily kept checking the window like she was on watch duty. And Noah, he never asked when his mom was coming back. Because I don't think he believed she was. That afternoon, I got the kids outside, hoping fresh air would help. We went to the park, then got ice cream, and I tried to keep it light. But when I handed Lily her cone, she looked up at me and asked, "Are we going to stay with you now?" Like it was a done deal. Like they'd already made peace with it. I squatted down so we were eye level. "You're going home soon, sweetie." She just nodded. "Okay." But her smile didn't reach her eyes. And, for the first time, I felt it, this gnawing, terrible thought. Maybe they shouldn't go home. Danielle finally showed up on the evening of day 3. She didn't knock. Just waltzed in like she lived here, wearing oversized sunglasses, a hoodie 2 sizes too big, and carrying a half-empty Starbucks cup like a trophy. Her phone was glued to her palm. She didn't even look at me, just called out, "Kids. Mommy's here." Tyler didn't move. Lily blinked, confused. Noah, he didn't even pause his game. Danielle frowned. "Wow. No hugs? Not even a missed you, Mom." I stepped between her and the living room, arms folded. "You disappeared for 3 days, Danielle. No warning. No check-ins. What the hell is going on?" She took off her sunglasses and winced at the light. Her eyes were bloodshot and twitchy. Chill, okay? I told you I had an emergency. What kind of emergency takes 3 days and no contact? She didn't answer. Just started gathering the kids' things, barely looking at them. You were using again, weren't you? Her jaw clenched. Don't start. I'm not starting. I'm finishing. If you're high right now, you're not taking them. That got her attention. She looked up, eyes narrowing. Excuse me. You heard me. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think you can just decide that? You're not their mom. No, I said. But for the last 3 days, I've been the only adult who gave a damn about them. And there it was. She exploded, called me every name in the book. Said I was jealous, controlling, that I always thought I could do things better than her. The usual Danielle deflection tactics. But I stood my ground. She stormed out 20 minutes later, without the kids. I told her to come back with a clean test or don't come back at all. That night, I called CPS. I didn't know if it was the right move, or if I was just done being a band-aid for her screw-ups. But I couldn't shake the look on Lily's face when her mom came through that door. Not relief. Not joy. Just confusion. And maybe a little fear. And that left me with one brutal, unanswered question. What if keeping them safe means tearing our whole family apart? They showed up at 9:04 a.m. the next morning, 2 CPS workers and a police officer. Not dramatic, just official. I'd barely finished my coffee when I heard the knock. I opened the door and immediately felt my stomach twist. Not because I thought I did anything wrong, but because something about letting the state into your life feels like letting a storm into your living room. They were polite, professional, asked if they could come in and talk through the report. I led them to the dining table. The officers stood by the door, arms crossed. The lead social worker, a woman named Karen, and yes, I clocked the irony, flipped through a clipboard like she was preparing to interrogate me. I understand you're not the children's legal guardian, she asked. No, I said, just their aunt. Their mother is my sister. And she left them in your care for 3 days? I nodded. Without warning. She claimed it was an emergency, but she hasn't told me what. She showed up last night, clearly high. Karen raised an eyebrow. Did you ask her to take a test? I told her not to come back without one. She made a note. Then came the hard part, letting the kids be interviewed. They took each one into my bedroom, one at a time, with the door open just enough that I could hear the low hum of voices. Tyler was confused. Lily, quiet. Noah. I didn't hear a single word from him. After about an hour, they reconvened in the kitchen. We'll be reaching out to your sister today, Karen said. In the meantime, are you willing to continue watching them voluntarily? I didn't even hesitate. Yes, she nodded, slid a paper across the table. Sign here. And just like that, I became a temporary guardian. It felt surreal. This thing I hadn't planned for, didn't ask for, suddenly becoming my whole reality. And yet, something in me settled. But that moment didn't last long. Not when Danielle called 2 hours later, her voice shaking with rage. You called CPS on me? I didn't answer. You're dead to me. You understand that? You've ruined my life. I hung up without a word. But I couldn't shake the fear growing in the back of my mind. What if she actually fights this? What if the system gives her a second chance she doesn't deserve? It's wild how quickly kids start to adapt. That weekend, I caught myself folding laundry for a family I didn't technically have. Lily was in the hallway brushing her doll's hair and humming. Tyler was asleep on the couch clutching one of my old t-shirts like a security blanket. And Noah, he finally put down his game and started asking real questions. Are we staying forever? He asked from the kitchen doorway, voice low like it was dangerous to hope. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to be honest, but how do you explain custody hearings and addiction relapses to a 10-year-old without breaking something in him? I don't know, I said. But for now you're safe. He nodded, then asked if he could help make dinner. I didn't cry until he started chopping onions next to me. And I couldn't even blame the onions. Later that night, I went digging. Not through drawers or closets, through memory. I started making a list of everything Danielle had done in the last few years that I'd brushed off. Late pickups. Missed school concerts. The time Lily showed up to my place with bruises and said she fell at the park, but couldn't say which park. The time Noah said they ran out of food and were eating crackers for dinner. I'd told myself it was life being hard, being messy, that Danielle was trying. But now it looked like a pattern. Neglect hiding in plain sight. And the worst part? I saw it. I knew. And I did nothing. That guilt hit harder than anything else. Because maybe I didn't just rescue them, I left them there too long. That night, I sat on the bathroom floor, door locked, lights off, just listening. To the quiet. To the soft breath of 3 kids finally sleeping safely. And I knew Danielle wasn't the only one the system should question. I had ignored the signs too. It was Sunday dinner that broke me. My parents texted earlier in the week, saying we needed to talk things out. I hadn't told them much, just that Danielle had left the kids with me and things got complicated. I didn't mention CPS. Or the court date. Or the fact that I'd been researching long-term guardianship options at 2 a.m. every night. But of course, Danielle told them her version. She always got there first. When I showed up with the kids, dressed, fed, calm, they barely acknowledged them. My mom gave me that tight-lipped smile that says she's holding back for now. My dad stood in the corner like a human paperweight. Danielle walked in 10 minutes later like she was the guest of honor. Clean. Makeup done. Hair curled. She even brought a casserole. "Can we be normal for 5 seconds?" she said brightly. I didn't even sit down. Mom was the first to open the floodgates. Danielle told us what happened. She admitted she was going through a hard time. But she's their mother, and she's working on herself. I kept my arms folded. 3 days. No contact. Hi. In front of them. She said it was anxiety meds, my dad mumbled. She lied, I snapped. And you believed her. Again. That's when Danielle turned on the waterworks. I didn't ask you to call CPS. You blindsided me. You stole them from me. The room went quiet. I looked at her, at the woman who used to braid my hair when I was 6, who used to steal my clothes and hug me tight before school. Now she was just someone else. A stranger with my sister's face. I didn't steal them, I said. You gave them up. You just didn't notice. My mom stood up. You don't get to play hero. You're not their savior. You're making this worse. And then Lily tugged on my sleeve. Quiet. Shaky. Can we go home now? She meant my apartment. Not Danielle's. Everyone heard it. Even Danielle flinched. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Because 2 days later, I got served. Danielle was filing for full custody. She wanted the kids back. And now? I had 7 days to decide, walk away and protect my peace, or fight and risk everything. The envelope was thin, but it felt heavy in my hands. Like it was made of lead and guilt and bad history. Inside, a notice of hearing. Danielle was requesting immediate reunification. Emergency custody review. Emergency. That word again. I stared at it so long I forgot to blink. The kids were at school. Noah had started talking to the counselor without being prompted. Lily was drawing again, and Tyler had stopped asking if he could sleep in my bed every night. Progress. Small, fragile, but real. And now it could all vanish. I made coffee and called the social worker. Karen. She's petitioning based on emotional distress, she explained. Claims she was coerced. That you manipulated the situation and alienated the kids. I laughed. Actually laughed. She ghosted them. Karen sighed. I know. We've documented it. But court doesn't always work on common sense. Be prepared. She has a lawyer now. I hung up and looked around my tiny apartment. Scattered Legos, Tyler's crayon mural on the wall, Lily's sock in my coffee mug. Home. In the chaos kind of way that makes it yours. And I realized I was in. Heart, soul, rent money, Every part of me was already fighting. The question wasn't should I go to court. It was, what happens if I lose? The thought made me nauseous. Because I'd seen those kids after 3 days of being unwanted. What would 3 more months look like? A year? Would Lily stop humming? Would Tyler go back to flinching? Would Noah stop asking questions altogether? I couldn't let that happen. But if I fought this and lost, I wouldn't just lose custody. I'd lose any chance of being in their lives at all. Still, I knew what I had to do. I picked up the phone, dialed the number on the lawyer referral sheet Karen had given me. "Hi," I said when someone answered. "I need help. And I don't have much time." Court felt less like justice and more like theater with terrible lighting. The hallway outside family court smelled like old coffee and nerves. My lawyer, a calm, gray-haired woman named Melissa, told me to breathe. I was trying, but every time the courtroom door creaked open, my ribs felt tighter. Danielle arrived 10 minutes late in heels she could barely walk in and a blazer 2 sizes too big. Her lawyer looked like he specialized in car accidents and bad divorces. She glanced at me once, no emotion. Just that same distant smugness she wore the day she walked out of my apartment. The hearing was fast and cruel. Danielle cried on cue. Talked about how I'd isolated the kids, refused to answer her calls, poisoned them against her. Her lawyer said I had no legal claim, no training, that I was emotionally manipulating minors. Melissa was ready. Calm, sharp, unflinching. She presented timelines, texts, even the voice message Danielle left screaming at me about CPS. And then came the kids. Not in person. Just statements. From the counselor at school. From Karen. From my neighbor who'd seen Lily crying in the hallway the night Danielle didn't show. When the judge asked if Danielle had documentation of her whereabouts during those 3 days, she froze. No, she whispered. It was personal. He raised an eyebrow. More personal than your children? She didn't answer. It was subtle. But I saw it. The shift. The mask slipping. The way she stopped performing and just deflated. Then came the twist. Melissa asked permission to submit something late, a statement from Noah. He'd written it on his own. We hadn't asked him to. I hadn't even read it yet. The judge took a moment, then nodded. Melissa handed it over. He read in silence for what felt like hours. Then he cleared his throat and said, "I'd like to speak to this child myself." Danielle's lawyer objected. Denied. Overruled. A short recess. I sat on the bench in the hallway, heart hammering. Danielle paced, muttering to herself, her facade cracking like cheap porcelain. When the judge returned, his voice was steady. For now, temporary custody remains with the aunt. We'll revisit full guardianship in 60 days. I exhaled like I'd been underwater. Danielle stood there stunned, mouth open, like she'd forgotten how to speak. As I gathered my things, her voice sliced the air. "You're not their mom. You never will be." I turned to her, calm. "Maybe not. But I'm not the one they're scared of." Her face crumpled. Just a flicker. But I saw it, and I walked out of that courtroom knowing I hadn't won. But she'd finally lost something. It's been 7 weeks since court. 7 weeks of frozen pizza, bedtime stories, Lego landmines, and quiet cries behind closed doors. 7 weeks of school drop-offs, therapy appointments, and the slow rebuild of 3 small hearts. Danielle hasn't called once. Not a check-in, not a birthday card for Lily, not even a passive-aggressive email to make herself feel better. I'd be lying if I said I was surprised. But there was a moment, just one, when I thought she might try. Might ask for a visit. Might show a shred of fight for the kids she used to cradle like porcelain dolls. Instead, I got a letter last week. No return address. Just a single folded page in Danielle's dramatic handwriting. "You poisoned them against me. But I hope you're happy. They're yours now, I guess." I didn't cry. I didn't even finish reading it. I just folded it back up, slipped it into the kitchen junk drawer under the rubber bands and old batteries, and went back to packing lunches. Because the truth is, no one poisoned them. They just figured out what love felt like when it stayed. Today was the big day. The final hearing. Guardianship. The judge asked me only one thing. Are you ready for this? I said yes. Not because I felt ready, but because they deserved someone who'd say yes even when they weren't. We walked out of the courthouse hand in hand, Noah gripping the papers like they were a trophy. Tyler kept asking if it meant we could finally adopt a dog. Lily wanted to celebrate with pancakes. We did both. And just as the kids were piling into the car, Lily turned and asked, "Can I still call you Auntie?" I laughed. "You can call me whatever you want." She nodded, thoughtful. "Okay, then maybe I'll call you ours." That one stayed with me. Later that night, I was cleaning the living room when I found a crayon drawing tucked into the couch cushions. Stick figures. A sun. A house with a crooked roof. And 4 names written in shaky block letters. It wasn't perfect, but it was whole. And that was enough.